Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is September 2nd, 2024, and we are in the Old Testament book of Daniel, and we're going to read chapter 3 today. All right, so Daniel interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dream about the statue with the different materials. Nebuchadnezzar was so impressed that he's elevated Daniel and the other three to a high rank in Babylonian circles. Nebuchadnezzar even comes to respect God, doesn't necessarily worship God. He's still worshiping his own gods, but he's starting to think, oh, there might be something to that God. We see here that he's decided he's going to create a statue, whether it's his version of the statue that was in his dream, because this is all gold, so maybe it's him saying, hey, you know what, nobody's going to succeed me. Whether it's a statue of himself or one of his gods, we don't know, but he creates this statue and he says everyone is going to have to bow down and worship it. And if you don't worship it, you're going to die. Point in time comes, everybody worships it, and some people come forward and say, well, you know what, those three friends of Daniel's did not worship your statue. And Nebuchadnezzar gets angry and calls them in and says, okay, I'm going to give you one more chance to worship my statue. Otherwise, I'm going to kill you. And the three give him the answer of, look, we follow God. We trust God. God's either going to save us or he's not going to save us. And if he doesn't save us, it doesn't matter. Throw us in the fire. We don't care. We're not bowing down to your gods. Nebuchadnezzar gets angry. He decides he's going to really stoke this furnace as high as it will go and throw the three into it. And as the Babylonians go to throw the three into it, they're wearing all kinds of clothing and stuff, good stuff to light on fire. But as the Babylonians are throwing them into the fire, they all die. They're overcome by the fire. It's so hot. So Nebuchadnezzar ends up killing his own people, his own loyal subjects. Meanwhile, as he looks into the fire, he says, wait a minute, I threw three in there. There's four in there now. And it looks like an angel. So we're either seeing a theophany, which would be God, and that's probably not what we're seeing, or we're seeing an angel, and that's a possibility, or we're seeing what's referred to as a Christophany, which would be a pre-incarnate version of Christ who's come down. Probably somewhere in between that and an angel. You can, arguments go either way for that, but it's a divine thing that Nebuchadnezzar sees, and he says, wait a minute, they're all fine. This one seems like he's protecting them. Pull them out of the fire. And they pulled the three out of the fire, and nothing has harmed them at all. Their clothing is still fine. They don't smell like they've been in a fire. And Nebuchadnezzar says, oh, I want to worship your God. Well, let's not go that far. I don't want to worship your God, but I understand that your God is very powerful, and I will add him to a high rank with my God. So he's not exactly worshiping God yet, which he never really does, but he's starting to respect God even more than he was before. Offshoot of that is he decrees that, hey, you know what? People who want to worship this God should be allowed to worship this God. So the Jews in exile, they're starting to get high places in the court. Now they're free to worship their own God. And we're seeing Jeremiah's prophecy come true of, hey, go into exile, try and get along, do what you can. I mean, don't abandon God, but, bless the Babylonians who have you in exile, work for them, be diligent. And exile is going to strengthen you until you come out. So we're seeing that happen here. Now the exiles are free to worship their own God without any punishment coming to them. So let's go ahead and we're going to read Daniel chapter 3. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. And King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then a herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, and symphony with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. So at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, the flute, the harp, and lyre, the symphony with all kinds of music, all the people, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the gold image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Therefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came forward and accused the Jews. They spoke and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, and symphony with all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the gold image. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the provinces of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whose men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, gave the command to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, so they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods, or worship the gold image which I have set up? Now if you are ready, at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery, and symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who would deliver you from my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he arose in haste, and he spoke, saying to his counselors, Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said to the king, True, O king. Look, he answered, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Then Nebuchadnezzar went near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and he spoke, saying, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out from the midst of the fire. And the satraps, administrators, governors, and the king's counselors gathered together, and they saw those men on whose bodies the fire had no power. The hair of their head was not singed, nor were their garments affected, and the smell of fire was not on them. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants, who trusted in him. And they have frustrated the king's word, and yielded their bodies, and they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver like this. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. May God bless the reading of his word, and may God bless you. Bye.